I did unplug it. Can you plug it in?
Just in the
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, there's not a space.
What do you mean there's not a space?
There's not.
Take one of these chargers out. All right, so, oh, wow, there goes my whole
No, that's not the right
screen.
size. Where does it usually go?
It goes in the U.
There's not a USB one.
So take out this one.
All right.
This is
This is what happens when we come home late from church.
this is what happens when our life is the way that it is right now. Look, I got no sexiness going on back here. Oh
And
my
you're
gosh.
late. Oh,
I'm
well,
late.
that really looks terrible. I just logged in.
It does. So here's let me real quick, right? It's the holiday season, everyone. We know that the holiday season brings with it a level of madness. And so right now, since August, we've been working on like this real estate situation, right? Where we're like helping someone out with like taking care of their house and getting it on the market. That has taken an unbelievable amount of time, money, and effort. On top of that, trying to run a business, trying to homeschool kids, trying to take care of my dog that has the most severe allergies of any dog that I've ever known in my life. And then
I don't think anybody can hear him, but he's singing
he's
in the other room.
So loud right now that the whole world can hear him. So it's just been like, it's been a lot. So we like literally were at church. They changed the time at church. So then we got home literally like 2 minutes ago. And so, but we made it. We made it, wife.
And here we are.
We're here. Are you gonna make coffee?
I am.
Because my goodness, if I don't live on coffee right now, I don't know what I'm living on. So welcome back. For all of you, maybe this is your first time. You're like, what in the heck did we even show up to right now? This is Sunday Night Teacher Talk, and look, this is Teacher Life right now, where I took down all my stuff because I was going to redecorate and get things ready, like for the holidays and for some other upcoming projects that I have. And then I didn't get to it. Now it looks like I run a scuba shop with this horizontal line back here. That's what it looks like. It looks like
nothing.
It's like a scuba flag, like a pirate scuba flag.
That makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to anyone, wife. What we do is we meet up on Sundays, which can often be the scariest and most not unpredictable, just scariest and overwhelming time of the week for teachers, especially. Man, we are weeks away from winter break, and what I don't want you to do is go into winter break feeling dead, right? Because that doesn't help you, because then you think you got all this time to just like get it back, and you don't have a lot of time, because you're gonna be, if you're a parent, you're putting together toys and getting things ready and all that stuff. So what we want to do is try and be a resource to try and help you as much as possible today, to be ready for this week and to be ready to go into the winter break feeling excellent, so you can have really great time. So what do we got, wife? You got any questions?
All right, we do. Yeah, someone was in here asking a question 10 minutes before we were supposed to even start at 1. Mallory, she says, I better get in here first. All right, Mallory.
Click that situation.
Oh yeah, I'm going to show you. There. Yeah, there you go. How do you handle super needy students? I have a few this year I would call stage 5 clingers. I swear they would follow me into the bathroom. They wait at my door in the morning. Catch my car and try to come in on my planning to just talk about anything, never anything serious or urgent. I'm glad that they enjoy me and my class so much, but it's getting tiring, and I don't want to make myself unavailable, but still need to get my work done and focus on other students.
So one, Mallory gets extra credit for making a Ghostbusters reference that only a few of us may have known, but
she did. I didn't even pick up on it.
Stage 5 clinger.
Oh yeah.
Come on, man.
I know.
I'm going to show it to you later. All right. So, Mallory, this is it's one of those things where we wanted it. We wanted the relationships. We wanted the connection to the kids. We wanted all that stuff. But man, sometimes it goes a little bit out of control, right? So it makes me think of that Christmas Eve party that we had. We used to have these Christmas Eve parties that anybody was invited to, but then it started getting out of control. People would show up to the Christmas party, eat our food, and then go do Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve and leave their children unannounced and unsupervised at our party.
We didn't have many people at this, just 1 or 2, which is enough.
It was a lot. and they had a lot of kids, and those kids were
A handful.
required some care. So I think when this happens, when this has happened to me in the past, it's always just letting kids know when you can and can't do stuff, right? Like it's, you could come up with a signal for that. Like I remember I grew up with someone that said there was this house in their neighborhood that was always open. These like two older folks, their kids had like kind of grown up and moved out, and they loved having people over. They loved hosting. But the signal was, if our porch light is on, even if that's at midnight, you are welcome to come over. If the porch light's off, we are doing something else, whatever, sleeping, taking a shower, I don't know, whatever you're doing. And I just think that that's such a great visual for like, when are you available? Can you send up a signal like that of some sort, right? Or other times I've just told kids like, look, if you talk to me right now, I'm going to talk to you. And I know I have my work to get done. And I can't, like, I'm going to get in trouble. I can't, like, my kids got to eat. That's why I used to tell kids all the time. My kids got to eat. So I can't do this right now because you're going to pull me into your web of distraction. So come back at this time, right? Give them the time to return so that they know when to show back up. But I find that it's more than having like a heavy conversation. It's just kind of like, it's kind of beautiful, right? Like, and so honoring it as if it is beautiful, and then giving it that sort of response, like, this is really wonderful. I'm honored that you want to hang out all the time. But this is what I need. And then what happens is, right now, you are a part of those children's rhythm. So we have downtime. Let's go to Miss Garrett's room. We're gonna oh, we're eating lunch, Miss Garrett's room. Oh, it's Monday morning, Miss Garrett's room. Once you start deflecting students away and giving them a time to come back, what they do is, because you're a part of their rhythm, they're going to find someone else. They're going to find another room, another person, another space, another place to be. And that then becomes a part of their rhythm as well. So that's kind of how, like, you have to put up that sign, that like, do not disturb, basically sign. Or I used to tell kids, look, I used to have a sign that said, I'm working on your grade and I'm not that good at math. Please don't disturb me. And that was enough for kids to go, oh, my bad. Rounds like, oh, my grade messed up. So then they would split. And that's how I got rid of kids.
All right, you ready for the
I'm
next
ready.
one? All right, Stephanie shook us up asking, I know there are many videos / posts about this, but how do you decide if you need to move to a new school if you've worked your butt off to get things started and the kids love you? I do, but I don't know if that's...
Is there a second part?
There's not. I looked. I
Okay.
couldn't find one.
That's fine. We got enough to go off of in that one. Moving schools can seem so daunting. But I'll tell you, someone that has shifted schools, shifted careers, changed churches, changed, hopefully in the next year, neighborhoods. I think that there's value, Steph, in all the hard work that you did to get the results that you got. But I don't think it needs to necessarily be that way. I think that it's really difficult when, like, schools shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard to get kids on board. It shouldn't be that hard to get parents involved. It shouldn't be that hard to get, like, your school doing, like, to support you, or to get resources that you need, or whatever, right? It shouldn't be that difficult. And so I think that there are seasons in life. And so one of the seasons of my life has been, like, when I first worked in Camden, it was very, very difficult to get approved for anything. It was so bonkers sometimes how ridiculous things ran. Like, the principal at that time, the principal and the CEO of the school, is a charter school, the head of curriculum. So the principal and the CEO would spend most of the day playing chess. No kidding. You would go into the office, you'd bring in a kid, you're like on the verge of tears. I need help. I'm like, this is happening in my class. This is what they would do. They're looking at the chessboard. 1 second. What? I'm sorry. We're working. What are you doing? What are you doing right now? We're playing chess instead of, like, doing work. Then the head of curriculum, head of guidance, maybe head of special education, the CEO, the principal, and the vice principal were all in a band together, some way, somehow I got roped into being part of this band in my first year of teaching there. They would come to my class in the middle of the day. Yo, Reynolds, we got someone to cover your class. We got to have band practice right now. We got a gig this weekend. I'm sorry, what? No, I'm in the middle of teaching a lesson, bro. So, and realizing these are like absurd examples, but I knew that when I went to my next school, I learned a lesson from that, right? I knew that not to sign up for, administrative bands or like any other kind of like stuff. And when I did sign up for stuff, I had very clear and concise boundaries that I dealt with. So remember that even if you go to another school, you're building this sort of like resume of experience, of social emotional awareness, of like just physical toughness that you're going to bring with you. And so I think it's going to another school and seeing if that's the right fit. So when I went from Camden and there was a job interview in West Philadelphia where I taught for the last however many years, over a decade, as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh, this is different. It was in many respects the same type of school, right? Dealing with many of the same issues that a lot of schools deal with. But there was something different about it. It was like the staff like wanted to be there. It was people like facing things head on, facing issues head on instead of like skirting around them or like brushing them under the rug. It was like, no, we're going after it. And just the energy was different. And I knew almost immediately that this is where I wanted to be. And I definitely knew after that first day of going up, getting an interview, getting a tour from the school, meeting with students, meeting with staff, that like, no, this is where I need to be next. So I would look for that place. Don't just jump ship and go somewhere else just because it's like new and shiny, but like, can you see yourself being there? Does this seem like a good fit for you? That's what I would keep in mind. So it's taking the trip. It's like, I'm just thinking of like, it's like taking a test drive of a car, right? Like go get behind the wheel for a minute and then give it a shot.
Okay, Sharon Murphy is up next asking, it's a multi-parter, so bear with me. She's asking, I have a senior who is taking my English 11 class because the previous school didn't count. Apparently, he thinks he knows more about what I am teaching than I do, trying to correct me. But I have learned that he does this to all of his female teachers and won't work with the female classmates because they are not on his level. The male students in my class are starting to be done with it. What do you do with a student when a student mansplains your teaching?
So
wait, do you have a student that's ever mansplained?
No, because I'm a dude.
I know. That's right? Not just laughing at that.
But I have had students that think they're
smarter,
that think they're better, that come from I've even had like a handful of students that have come from like a pretty wealthy background.
That's almost two different things that she's dealing with. Like the mansplaining is like the not working with females and treating other female teachers in such a way, like, and other female students, like that's a whole issue on its own. Yeah, and then knowing that you're thinking that you're smarter than your teacher is like another. How do you?
I think it's coming together as a staff. How are we going to deal with this particular issue? This is not a phone call home by any one person or any 5 people. Because if there's one thing that really aggravates parents and like it makes them not on your side is when like 5 different teachers, and I know some schools like this, what we need to do is and I've literally been in staff meetings where they've said this, like, we need to have all of you calling home about, no, all that does is piss everybody off. It makes you look like you're not on the same page. So what we need to do is to get together as a staff of all the teachers that teach this young man and have a conversation. What are the common denominators here? What are we seeing? What are some of the triggers? What are some of the behaviors that we're seeing? And then we need to bring administration into this, because this needs to be a much larger conversation, and parents need to know that we're being serious. So that doesn't necessarily have to be the principal, but there needs to be some level, like even if it's your grade level chair, that's a part of this conversation, and it needs to be backed by all of the other teachers as well. So whether you're a woman or not, that can't be the only gender that's like, all right, we're going to just be like the women uniting on this, and that has to happen. But if you don't have everyone on board working towards this similar goal, then it becomes problematic, because what you don't want to do is sometimes, right, when you're not the teacher having a problem, right? Like and we all know this teacher, right? And I may have even been this teacher before, and I'm sorry if I was, but like where you're not the one having the issue, you feel like it's not your problem. Like, I'm not going to say anything to that kid. Things are good, and let's let sleeping dogs lie. And that's a terrible idea. What it needs to be is a united front, because I'm going to tell you this: the teachers, hopefully, if your school's good, you're going to be teaching with the same people for a very long time if you're blessed, right? But the students come and go. And although I know education's only ever about the students, we need to teach together as a community, as a tight-knit group of individuals, because, like, look, problems are going to come and go. Students are going to come and go. Like, but we are going to be here for the long haul. So we need to know that we are a united front. And I'll tell you what, when you come off like that to students, it changes things. When kids go, wait, you all were talking about me? You were talking about like my situation or my grades? Yeah, this is what we do. We are a group. We are a family of people that work together. So I would set up a meeting with, and I wouldn't wait for it, right? I would set up a meeting that gets us going.
Just a bit further
Sure.
info. Sharon noted in the comments that the students lost both their parents. So, I mean, that's a whole nother layer.
Yeah.
This child's dealing with like
So
overwhelming loss,
it's even
and they're
more
like
of a
living
meeting.
with a family situation that they don't really love, where they're living, and that whole thing. So,
Yeah. So
that's
I
a
mean,
lot.
I've had, because, and that's a really good point. I was talking to Meeks about this one time, and my buddy Meeks he was head of like the culture and climate, what they call at my old school. Grew up in West Philadelphia, product of a lot of the things that we see. Like he really went through it. He really had a really, really tough upbringing and tough life, like in general. But it was one of the greatest, like learned from that and grew from that, right? And he had a way of talking to kids that was unlike anybody I've seen before or since. Like it was incredible. And so we were talking about this one time, and we had a young Black teacher that came to our school that started out, young Black male teacher that started out, and had this sense that like he also, students would identify with him. They would see in him who they were at their age and things like that. And there was a sense that this was going to be pretty easy for him. But what ended up happening with a number of students was that they immediately didn't like him because he was a young Black male. And so I was talking to Meeks about this, and I'm like, there's always so many facets and things to learn, and you're always growing. I'm like, what is the deal here? Like, what's the trigger for kids? And he said, he's in his explanation, he said, many of these young, babe, I think you're boiling over in there.
Oh,
Many of these young men, because he also knew a lot of the families too. He's like, their moms are all single. And so if you have had a mom that has had a number of boyfriends or even one boyfriend or a stepdad that you like, that just was a trigger for you, right? They didn't treat you right. They didn't treat our students right. They came into this family and started like trying to run the show. And my boys are going like, who's this clown think that he is? Like, and so there was this immediate mashup. He said, now when you have young Black men coming in to teach our boys, that is an immediate trigger because that's what they're associating with, whether they know it or not. Similarly, some students that had a really hard time with female teachers because they were raised by their mom or their grandmom or something like that. There wasn't that male presence in their life. So they gravitated towards the men to get that kind of connection and energy that they were missing. But like even hearing a woman's voice just reminded them of their mom, who might be overbearing or just unhealthy emotionally in her own right. So we just never know what we're dealing with students. So what we have to do is go into it with compassion, with love, with grace, and with community to meet together to figure out what is our goal for this young person. What are we trying to help them to get to? And what's going to be healthy for them to grow into as an adult? And so we are not the be all end all. We are planting a seed, and we're not going to watch it until it grows into a tree, but we need to start that now, that conversation now. And that also helps you exercise that bit of being a community member, where we're all constantly working together to grow together.
All right, awesome. Hey, we got a super chat
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Nice.
And they're asking a question, so we're gonna pop
Go
theirs
for it.
up. I actually can't
If you
find it.
pay,
in the
we
chat.
play. I
Kay is asking. I actually don't know how to say the whole name, so we're gonna go with Kay.
Go.
Thoughts on teacher unions? Good, bad, in between?
I think like most things, it's like when folks ask me about charter schools or private schools or whatever the other pieces are. It depends on who's running it, how it's being run, what the focus is. Like, are we making students a priority? Are we making teachers a priority? Are we look like, how are we looking at school? That to me is like the be all end all. So I wouldn't like, this is a weird saying, throw the baby out with the bathwater. So it's like, oh gosh, I hate that
All
one.
those sayings
I
are
don't know, it
weird.
just came to mind. I don't know why, but so it's like I've known folks that like I know Tracy Pinter is like her union rep, right? She's probably on her right now. So if Tracy Pinter is my union rep, it's great. But I've known unions also, like whether it's construction, like I grew up in a blue collar family, whether it's teachers unions that just they weren't good. They didn't have good focuses. They had people that were a part of their system that were corrupt or that were looking out for themselves or looking out for just their little circle of friends. And then things got all muddy. I see it in my local school system where like we've had certain superintendents that like nepotism was through the roof. It's like, yo, when your girlfriend is like what? Like she's working for you and she's getting paid how much? And like that doesn't seem right. There is corruption in a lot of these sort of systems. But if you work for the right people, like I don't always believe that charter schools are a good move, right? Let me say that. And I've only ever worked in charter schools as a teacher. But some of the people that I've gotten to work with, I've seen people do it right and do amazing, incredible, awesome things and use charter schools for what they're actually built, like what they originally built for. And I've seen people do it wrong and they're just like money grabbing. And it was like, you're getting rich off of this. And I'm over here with one expo marker and 1,000 copy limit that I'm allowed to make during the year. Like that's real talk. And so it depends on the scenario, I think.
All right. Our next question is coming from Michael. He's asking, how do you try to make sure your first class gets as good of a lesson as your last class? My first ELA class year is also my toughest behaviorally, but not last year. And I felt the same.
So, Michael, one of the things, and this is a systematic approach, right, that school could do to change that as a school that I did not like at first, but then I loved. We started a rotating schedule. And I have like, even if you can't have a rotating schedule, I have an answer for that too. But so basically you have periods 1 through 8. And then so anyone that's never experienced this, you run periods 1 through 8. And then on Monday, on Tuesday, you start with period 8. And then you go 1 through 7. On Wednesday, you start with period, I guess it's 7. And then you run 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so each day it just keeps doing that. And it was like a 6-day cycle. I forget what the cycle number was, because I think our 5th and 6th period were the only ones that never changed because those were lunch periods and you didn't want to have kids eating lunch at different times of the day for whatever reason. So that was awesome because it literally did that. It gave you that 8th period class where you could bring it on that day and you felt fresh. And you always know that like I do more teaching in first period than I do in 8th period because I just have like I've gotten either tired or I've like all the like people's energy wasn't there, so you just got through it faster or whatever. It just like that lesson was always so much longer in first period. The other thing that you could do, and this takes a little bit more work on your part, but what I've done in the past. So last year school scrapped that. All of our new leadership that came in, they were like, "No, we're not doing this anymore." How come? This works really great. Yeah, because we're not doing it. All right. But it works really well for the kids and for the teachers. Yeah, but we're not doing it. Okay. So that's how we roll. Thank you, love. So what we started doing instead was I started working with some of my people on our grade level team. And on like a Monday in period 1, I would do one thing. But then so different activities. So like independent reading day would be different on different days. doing certain activities, certain projects would happen on different days. So I wasn't just doing it all day. So I wasn't doing the same thing 5 to 6 times a day, right? I would be doing this with this class on this day, this with this class on this day. It would all be the same, like 5 basic legs of what we were doing, but I just scaffold them differently through the week so that it was a little fresher for me. So I might be doing something that was a little bit more boring with first period on a Monday, and that I was stoked about on that same day with 8th period. And then on Tuesday, I would flip it. So then I had something to look forward to with each day too. So if we were watching like part of a movie, if we were doing exercise, if we were going outside, and I loved that because it was like, there were core pieces that were always the same, like coming in, vocab review, journaling. That top 12 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes of class was locked no matter what. But then it was, what's the meat? What is the big part, right? So like if you think of it like a hamburger, I don't know why this came to mind because I'm really hungry right now. That bun's always the same. The bun on the bottom is always the same, right? It's a little flatter and weirder, but no one's looking at that because it's on the bottom. It's what you put in the middle that's going to change. And so that's the part that I was trading out. So that just made it a little bit different. And you could just do this on a beginner scale. Like if you're just starting out, like what's one little thing that I could do different? What's one little thing I could plan? How might I teach 8th period a little bit different? Because I'm tired. I have talked about this all day. Like, what are some little things that we could do? And that's even just that is something to really be thoughtful of. I've had classes where, those classes where like not everyone wants to do the fun thing, not everyone wants to do the activity, not everyone wants to, and sometimes it's the opposite. Kids don't want to do the quiet thing. Kids don't want to sit still. They want to go outside. So it was trying to look at little things I could do in different classes that were going to be good for that class, for those students, for that time period. And so, and for me. So that's how I did. And I just drink a lot more coffee.
All right, John Fox is up next, asking, do you agree that not every system works well for everyone? How do you help kids find what kind of organization planning system works well for them?
John, that is true. I mean, our school for many, many years wanted kids to write in agenda books, right? So every year they'd spend this like butt ton of money on agenda books. And then when everyone comes into class, it was like first minute of class is you writing down your stuff. Dude, this doesn't work. It's like not everyone looks at an agenda book. Not everyone's going to check back. Not everyone can write that quickly. Not everyone like someone forgot it. Someone doesn't have a pencil. Oh my gosh. It is finding what works for you. So I think that it's having kids like record notes, having kids record what they're doing, but giving them a number of options in which to do this. Because I do think that there's value in just when we're thinking about writing down homework and having a to-do list and things like that work for some people. But I know like even for my wife and I love this. There's a company, a platform called Trello, Trello, and I love it. It allows me to make lists. So like to do what I'm doing, what I've done. I have long-term projects. I have things that need to be done every week. And then when I'm done something in the to-do, I can just drag it over to the done. It archives all of it. So like it goes into this master list of things that I can see over time. Like, oh yeah, I did do that. And this is the date and time that I did it on. And this is when I saved it and all that stuff. My wife hates this platform, even though I think it's the greatest, right?
Yeah, I do.
So it's trying to find things that work for us. And so that's the same thing with everything. Now, I will tell you that even if your school mandates something be done, it's talking to kids about like, look, maybe, John, how can you low key do something a little bit different, right? If you want a kid to keep it on, they're going to keep a Google Calendar because they can get a push notification to their phone. If they're going to keep something on an app like that, or another company we're talking to right now, Sunsama, does a lot of these things where it's like integrates Trello that I love and Google Calendar. So it's kind of a match made in heaven. It's helping kids like low key find what works for them. And then also pushing kids sometimes to like, even if we don't want to do something, it's like, it's interesting what you might learn when your hand is forced a little bit to do it a certain way, because then it's like, sometimes you just don't know if you like it or if it works for you until you tried it. So try it, make yourself do it a little bit. And then let's see if that's going to be something that's beneficial. But yeah, no system ever works for everyone, I don't think. Like, I know what works for me, but that doesn't always work for you or for.
Yeah, I think in helping a kid, like you have to pay attention to who they are. Like, do they struggle with certain things like processing, ADHD? Like, some people are better
Spelling,
with
yeah.
digital organization. Like our son, he would work better for digital organization. Myself, I prefer written format. Like, that's what helps me. It's the physical writing it down, like commits it
Yeah.
better to memory.
Yeah.
I think just paying attention to the kid. Yeah, he's having an issue.
Dogs having.
He's feeling
Dog just
uncomfortable.
lives issues.
Oh gosh.
Poor dog.
Okay. Summer Tate is up next asking, my school district is going from a traditional school calendar to a balanced year-round calendar. Any experience with year-round?
I don't, but I have a lot of friends and colleagues that have done this, and they love it. I feel like Kate did this before, something where they like basically went to school for like 2 months and then had like 3 weeks off. And I think Summer, in doing something like that, what my mindset would immediately go to is, how do I make this work for me? Because I don't always like change, especially in school. I want to build that consistency in it. It's healthy for me. It's healthy for students. And my wife will tell you that anything we're working on and like something comes out of nowhere, I'm like, I hate this because I had a plan and now the plan is all jacked up. Like, I feel like my car just got a flat tire on the highway. So I think, could you text one of the kids and tell them that the dog needs attention? Our poor dog is allergic to damn near everything. And so he's been walking around with the cone of shame on for the last 3 weeks, and it's really bothers him sometimes. So, so I would be thinking about, how do I get this to work for me? Like, I'm going to make this work for me. So even thinking like 2 weeks or 2 months on, if it's something like that, and then you get 3 weeks off, it's like, this allows time for like vacation and time off and family time, like in each season of the year, where I feel like the summer is so crowded everywhere. But like, I remember one time I got to go to Disneyland in September, right after school went back, and it was friggin' awesome. We walked on every ride. We got the most out of our money of anyone that ever went to Disneyland. And so I think, reimagining some of those things, reimagining units that are only 2 months long tops. Like, I can't have anything carry over because I don't want to be starting something that like finishing something that like now we have 3 weeks off. And I know that creates a lot of problems, especially with like, if I think about math, and you're trying to grow kids in math, and then they're going to see them like they have 3 weeks off and then they come back, and we know that kids forget their locker combination after 3-day weekend. So, but I would just be looking for like what are the positives of this summer? That's a really great question, I think, to ask in the Facebook group. If anyone's not a part of our Facebook group, it's Real Rap with Reynolds, Teacher Talk on Facebook. I'll throw it up there. And it's private, and so meaning there are no businesses in there and things like that. I have run into a few scenarios where like folks were in there and their administrators were in there, and they're like, doesn't feel safe as it used to be. But for the majority, it's just a safe place for you to exist. And I guarantee if you put that in there, there's going to be people that are going to tell you like what they love about it as well.
All right. John Lopez is asking probably a question directed more to me because you don't really try them. Asking, were the gluten-free cakes and how were the gluten-free cakes and brownies? Well, John, we tried the brownies because on CJ's birthday, he wanted to do brownies, and I made him the regular brownies. He's not going to do gluten-free. He does.
I feel like I did try it.
I don't think you did.
No, I did, because
I don't make anybody. Usually
you thought it was a bit gritty.
I did, yeah.
And I didn't think so.
Oh, I'm a pastry person. Like, I love baked goods. I love like baking.
You have a cupcake tattoo, so.
No, I don't. I'm a baker at heart versus a cooker, like dinners and stuff. I love baking. But so for me, I'm pretty picky, but I will say that I saved the cake one because the gluten-free cake one I already know by King Arthur is actually pretty darn good. Tastes just like cake. So I'm saving that sucker for when I have like a cake attack.
You mean it sound like we have a brand deal with King Arthur's cakes?
No, but they're like, I'm telling you, when it comes to gluten-free, if you find like a good something that's gluten-free, if that's like like
the roll that you had last night at the party, you said it was gluten-free, and it was really
it was pretty good. It wasn't like, soggy in the middle like most gluten-free stuff. Or
you
gritty.
Want to stay away from that getting glutened.
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's terrible.
That happened on Friday.
I know.
Shout out to Mr. Matera,
Yay.
my buddy, who glutened my wife.
He doesn't know it. Stop. And
Yep.
he doesn't watch this. Okay. Our next question comes from Jacob asking, when students are absent on reading days, they don't read the chapter or short story when they return and just guess on the questions, which never works out. What are ways to solve this?
Jacob, I think there's a couple of things you could do. You could either push back their quiz or test date, or what I tell kids to do is like, look, you're going to take the test or quiz now. Don't worry about it. Right? Just, I know that you were out, and when kids are out, I never expect them to do work. Right? So if you're out and you're at a funeral, or there was some kind of family scenario, or your brother was in the emergency room, like, what am I think? You're going to be sitting there reading Lord of the Flies in the emergency room, waiting room. So I tell them, take it now. I do this for every test and quiz. Take it now, which is always on a Friday, and then just come back in Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week before school, during lunch, or after school, and just retake it. So what you're essentially getting the chance to do is right now, take that assessment and get a preview on what the questions are. And this doesn't happen often enough for any one student to really, really benefit from that. Like, so it's not going to be like, oh, they're just going to start taking off whenever and then learning what the questions are. And then I would maybe change the questions slightly, or change the order of the multiple choice or something, just so in case their friend tells them like, all right, listen, these are the answers. That's going to help you with that. But then also it alleviates the stress. And I do this for every kid. Every kid can retake any quiz or test Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the following week. But then it puts the onus on the student that they have to remember to come in. They have to remember to do the thing. I do have a sign in the front of my room that tells them to do this. And if they really, really don't want to do it, I tell them, all right, listen, I'm putting a 0 in the grade book. But that serves as a marker, because it's going to motivate you to come in and get better than a 0. Because if I put in nothing, or NA, or excused for now, or something like that, or incomplete, that doesn't motivate you. 0s motivate kids. Incompletes don't. And unless you're like that one kid that's like, oh, I have an incomplete. I need to make sure that I do all of my studies for this. And then offer times after school, if kids are coming in after school or during lunch or before school anyway to retake stuff. Hey, if you need any help before you take the quiz on Wednesday, just come in Monday and Tuesday. I'll run through the chapter with you. I'll make sure that you understand it. So you're building in these opportunities for kids to take ownership over their own education and to write something that would ultimately have ended up as a wrong. And that's that. It stops the anxiety. It stops the arguments. And it's like, it stops a lot of that stuff, so that kids have this ability to come in and be an advocate for themselves.
All right. Ready for the next one? That was the
shortest answer of the day.
Was it? I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
Classic.
I'm, in the comments. All right. The dysregulated educator,
Yes.
This is a good one, is asking, she said, saw a TikTok the other day that was titled My Teacher Bestie, that included a participating male teacher with a female student. In this age of social media, where do you feel the line should be? Closer inspection, this teacher is in several of the students' videos.
So I think boundaries are an interesting thing, but boundaries are different for different kids and for different reasons. So if I'm not just mindful of like male and female teachers or female and male teachers, but like anyone that could be attracted to you in some way, right? Like we're talking about like sexually attracted to you in some way. We're going to get real with this, right? If there's a rumor, it's just as bad as the thing happening. You're going to lose your job just as quick if there's a rumor that something happened. So I think that's one thing to just be mindful of, right? So when I would eat with certain dudes in my room and I'm by myself, I'm not sweating it, because I know what everyone's about. I know how you walk through life, right? And in any number of ways. And I'm not just saying that about like heterosexual students. I'm saying I know how you walk through life. And so I know what you're about. I've connected with you enough. And I know that this is a safe scenario. There are other students that I have not felt safe with. Kids that of all different scenarios and in all different ways that I'm like, you know what? Hey, let's eat lunch together on Tuesday because I'd like to talk to you about something. I'm eating lunch in the office because it's quiet in there. And so let's just go in the office and chill. And so, and they got free coffee sometimes. So like it's you're just being mindful, right? You're not being so you're being realistic about the way that the world kind of works and how people might see you. Now, this idea of being friends with your students, I think, is particularly problematic. I have become friends with a lot of my students. I'm going out to dinner this week with an old student that I would consider a friend of mine now. But when kids are in school, like to use language like my teacher bestie, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying something that is something you need to be mindful of, because friendship has a certain there's something there that when you're friends with someone, you can talk to someone a certain way, you can do certain things, you can act a certain way, you can speak a certain way. There's a certain level of grace and comfort and patience with people that I'm not so sure I want to have with students, right? And there are kids that I have an incredible affection for that I've gone through life with. Like I used to point back here to my cover, but I'm changing this around. One of my guys, Kev, who his friends called him DJ Dirty Kev. Kev's on the front of the my book, standing up reading a book. Kev and I were incredibly close. I was very close with his mom, and like got invited to stuff. Like we were tight. But I needed to know that when Kev did stuff, and Kev needed to know that I'm going to call you on your stuff, bro. And I've had some real moments with Kev where he was like, basically like, I'm going to put you on the spot right now, Kev. Going to throw his life away, throw his future away. His mom knew it. I knew it. And it was like, bro, we're going to get real in this classroom right now and have this conversation. But if we're friends, I mean, when you're grown and you're friends, you can do that. But like, we're not, I'm your mentor. I'm your coach. I am like, I'm not even trying to be your friend right now, but over time, I'd say now Kev and I are, Kev calls me at least every 2 weeks to just shoot the crap, talk about TV, talk about a movie, talk about his job as a park ranger in Philadelphia, which I still want to dress up as a bear and go run around the park so that he has to try and capture me because I just think it'll be funny. But it's just, it's knowing that not all things are appropriate. But why are they not appropriate? What is the message we're sending the children? What danger are we potentially putting ourselves in? So there are some things that you just shouldn't do as a teacher ever. But like there are other things that's like, just because you see it work for someone else, be careful. And last thing I'll say is, because man, I'm having a hard time straightforward answering this question, not because it's difficult, but because it is so complex. I'm trying to simplify it in a couple minute answer. The other thing you have to ask yourself is what you're doing trying to make you cool to kids or just make you liked by kids? And I am someone that likes to be liked a lot. It is like one of my number one priorities, and I don't want it to be. It's something I work on constantly, but I like to be liked. And when I'm not liked, it bothers me. When kids want to give you their attention, their affection, their time, their effort, their energy, there's something so gratifying about that it can become addictive. And so, want to be on my TikTok and be my teacher bestie? Yes, of course I do, because I want you to love school and I want to be your favorite teacher that you ever, I want to be your Feeny, right? But if we look at Feeny wasn't trying to be friends with anyone. This is talk about Boy Meets World, greatest fictional teacher of all time, Mr. Feeny. Feeny was trying to be real. He was trying to be a guiding light to you, trying to be a lighthouse in your life. Right. And so I just think that there's a lot of things to think of with regards to that. So would I do something like that? No, I wouldn't. Unless it was like sarcastic or a joke. That might be something I would think about. Or like if your parents knew, there's so many pieces there.
There's a lot of nuance and like particularities, like situational.
Yes. I gravitate towards no. But I wouldn't say no, not for everyone. It depends on who you are and what you're about.
I think what makes it strange is if that's the only person he does it with, right? Like now, if you were, I think it's different if you look, I see there's a teacher on TikTok that does like all those little dances, but it's his TikTok with his students.
That's a little bit different.
Right. It's a shift of it. This one seems a little bit
And
strange.
if it's my TikTok and it's about education, and it's
Right,
about connection, it's about
exactly.
students, and about growth,
That
and
feels
it's
like
about
safe and
relationships.
clear boundaries.
That's
The
a
other
little
one's
bit different than like I'm just out here like kicking it with my students because it's funny.
Yeah, that
And I
one's
want to
a
be
little
liked.
personal
And how
boundary
many views do
line.
we get? It's people's intention a
Yeah.
lot of times.
Yeah. Okay. So our next question is coming from Bernardo. I've been teaching.
First of all,
Yes,
Bernardo
it's a great name.
Guzman Gonzalez wins best name of the whole day.
Facts, he
Like that's a
does.
great name, man.
I also like
He
the
already
picture.
sounds like the suavest dude ever. Like,
I
it's
know,
a
right?
great name.
Oh, he's probably laughing. He's asking, I've been teaching at uni for a while and just started teaching 8th and 9th graders. What advice could you give to make the transition smoother?
So in large part, not everyone, university students have a clear vision of what they want to do and what they want to be, right? They're bought into, I'm paying for this. I know where this gets me. I know how much money I'm going to make, what kind of life I want to have. That sort of thing is already there. Students 8th and 9th graders, that seems so far away. It's like might as well be on another planet in another time zone in another multi-dimension. It's like some kids have a vision, some kids have an idea, but even like in 8th grade, I wanted to be a carpenter. So I went to trade school in 9th grade. Then I wanted to be a drummer. Like my life changed so drastically by the time I even became a senior that I didn't know what I wanted to do because I didn't know what was out there because I only grew up in my small, sort of small blue collar neighborhood and family, right? So I had this idea that I was going to be a construction worker. I was going to be in the union and this is what my life was going to be. Then I wanted to be, much to the chagrin of my parents, a drummer. And so I got really, really serious about that. That's a whole different story. But those kids, they're not bought in on the why. So you need to make the connection to the why. I think if I was brand new working in any school, it's going to be different at every school. There are certain commonalities amongst folks that are 13, 14, 15 years old. And there are other things depending on where you come up that are wildly different. So interests, for instance, right? So like I wouldn't go, if I started teaching in Tulsa, Oklahoma next week, I wouldn't just expect that all their interests were the same exact thing as my students were in West Philadelphia, but I wouldn't throw it out that they're not going to be. So it's like, what kind of music are you listening to? What's important to you in your life? What do you value? What do you want to become? How big is your vision? And then looking at the things that are important to my students, connecting them to the things that we're doing in class and building a bridge for that. So I think the advice is there's a lot more bridge building to do, but I think that that's incredibly rewarding. So it's looking at where do you want kids to be? What's the school shooting for? What are we shooting for as a community to get kids to, right? So if we're college prepared, how do I take you from where you are and help you to get closer? Not right there, right? How do I get you closer to where you're going? And that takes incorporating your interests and in connecting what your why is in life. Why do you want to be rich? Why do you want to be a football player? Why do you want to be a rapper? Why do you want to be a rodeo clown? Whatever the hell you want to be. I honor that, but let's help you to realize like why this class is important for this life over here. And that you have to do with everything. That's a little bit exhausting, but once you start being able to do that, you have like this kind of like a quiver of answers to that. And then you can really start teaching kids where they are.
All right, Laura's up next asking, hi, Reynolds and Not So Secret Wife, tips for showing support for a colleague or two struggling in their personal lives. I've become the listening ear and want to make sure I'm being a good colleague while maintaining healthy boundaries. Difficult when I see its effect on their teaching.
Okay. So, Laura, first of all, let's talk about how incredible it is that you would even be the person that listens, the people that care, the person that is like showing up when someone needs it, right? We all need these people. And sometimes, a lot of times I've seen teachers like, look at the school, look at the leadership. Like, what are y'all going to do about this? This person is suffering. And although that should be an aspect, it takes all of us to show up for one another. Just knowing someone cares, and even if they don't have an answer for you, even if they don't have advice for you, just showing up, right? We say all the time that your attention is more important than your advice. Knowing they care matters. So my friend Sarah, that I taught across the hall from for about a decade, we helped each other through a lot of really, really hard things. And so sometimes just a hug from her, just sometimes her listening to me and saying, I'm really sorry you're going through this. That was enough, right? It was an acknowledgement that this sucks and that I'm going through it, but that someone's there for me when I need them to be. That was huge for me. So I think that that's it. It's knowing that you don't have to fix it. You don't have to make him dinner every night. You don't have to buy him boxes of wine every single day, although that's probably a nice to do sometimes for certain people. But it's just an acknowledgement every day. Because what happens is, as people that help, we sometimes we do get burnt out. We do want to get on with life, but you have to acknowledge that people's growth, people's heart repair takes longer sometimes than we want it to. So it's showing up in the amount and in the capacity that we can. And sometimes it's talking to your community about hey, what would be something nice that we could do for this person? Could we have the kids write them cards? Could we have them, maybe we could all get together and chip in and buy them a night out or a massage or what something that they like, or have a cake for them or whatever, right? But it's just these small gestures that don't start burdening us. Because look, I'm gonna be honest with you, a little burden's all right? But when it starts affecting your life, you know that ultimately that person needs to get through that thing. So I think that's when you end up going to administration and saying hey, do they need time off? Do we need to connect them with human resources so that we can get them some therapy, or let them know what their options are, or what else other things they can do? That's probably a conversation too, but just showing up in the acknowledgement, I think is important. And the boundaries, you'll know, right? I'm not available all the time, anytime that someone needs me. I've literally had teachers come into class and they're melting down. Reynolds, can I talk to you? Last year, there was a new teacher, and someone came and got me, and they were like, you need to go talk to this person immediately. I'm like, bro, I'm literally in the middle of teaching my class off. Like that. But I felt the urgency. So I left my class. Someone watched my class, and I went up and spoke to this teacher who was crying in the back hallway of the school. I can't do that every day though. And so as a matter of fact, that happened again. Several weeks later, someone came, Reynolds, you got to go talk to them. I can't right now, but I'll tell you what, when I'm on lunch, have them come down. I'll grab lunch for both of us, and we'll all three of us will speak together, because this needs to be more than me. We need to create a team that we're all, it's like a group hug. And so it's letting people know when you're available. It's not just saying I'm not available. It's I'm not available right now, but if you want to speak at this time in this place or whatever, then that's how you start doing boundaries, I think.
All right. Justin is up next asking, what advice would you give to someone who is becoming a teacher after 40? I had always dreamed of teaching, but life happened and I went straight to work after high school.
Yep. It's not necessarily me giving you something, Justin, giving you a piece of advice, but I'm going to unlock this piece for you. I want you to think about how much you have learned that maybe, right? I always think that like it was a blessing in disguise. 22-year-old Reynolds would not have been able to do things that, and I was only 27 when I started teaching, but it felt like the eternity of difference. 27-year-old Reynolds was more processed, was more thoughtful, was smarter, had all these life experiences to pull upon that 22-year-old Reynolds didn't have a clue, right? So 22-year-old Reynolds, really, I belonged as a gas station attendant. And for those of you outside the New Jersey area, gas station attendants are people that show up at your car and pump your gas for you. We're like the only state I think still that does this, and it is.
And we're going strong, and we're staying there because I'm a Jersey girl and I don't pump gas.
I'll vote against.
I literally go to a gas station before I leave the state if I have to leave the state.
You have called me before to say I have to pump my own gas and I do not know what to do.
I know. I FaceTime them. Jersey girl.
Answer, look cute, and get someone to do it for you. So
that's not the answer.
Excuse me. But I just, that to me, when I think back on that, it's like, yes, like even me now, right? Like this age of me starting a business full time is like, I couldn't have done this when I was younger. I didn't have the stuff. So Justin, what is the stuff you're bringing that's going to bless your students in your class in such a way that like you wouldn't have been able to do before, right? You've worked with teams. You've worked in maybe certain levels of leadership. You've learned even bringing to your school, right? Like not even just like to your students, but like maybe you found a certain life rhythm. Maybe you found something that fills you up. Maybe your work-life balance is on point. You have all these things to pull from that are going to benefit you in the classroom. I would just be mindful of that. But at the same time that I say that, it's incredibly important to not let that cloud your judgment and make you feel like you know too much and that you can just walk in with a certain level of swagger that you haven't earned yet. So I've seen friends, a guy that I used to work with who ended up being a great teacher, was an officer in the military. He was in the Marines, the U.S. Marines for a long time. But he came in like, I got this. I'm going to whip these kids into shape, right? It was like, bro, you got to slow your roll. Didn't slow his roll. And guess what? Hit him in the face, man, because not all kids want to be like directed towards. They don't want a drill sergeant. They don't respond well to that. And as a matter of fact, as an adverse effect. So he had to learn to take the good in what that was doing, but then learn how to translate that for young people so that he was able to help all different kinds of students. So,
well, I think it's also important to like stay connected to pop culture, right? Like even
yes.
at 40, which can be a bit harder.
Yes.
The older we get, the more difficult I think that is to stay connected in, but that's so important.
Yeah, you don't want to, I think it's problematic when teachers, and I know some people do this and they might have some success with them. So not everything is all things for all people, but it is being mindful that like you do have to be in the know on some regard of things. You don't have to go home and watch Love and Hip Hop. You don't have to go home and watch like every episode of Gravity Falls, but it's having an awareness. Like, so today, the new chapter of Fortnite came out, right? So on the Fortnite map, the Fortnite world exploded. Literally, the island that we played
I just wanted, CJ knows all this because he's a Fortniter, a total Fortniter.
But you don't have to be, right? So you can be someone that hasn't played video games in 2 decades.
Right, you really just have to know it's a new season. Like you just say that to a kid, like, or a new chapter. I'm sorry, let's use the right verbiage. You get made fun of if not. But it's a new chapter.
Yeah.
Like they're off and running. Like if you said that to Brody,
teacher,
he would be like done. He would tell you a million things.
And I didn't know I didn't play Fortnite, but I was in the know that the new chapter was coming out. The live event was last night. Mm-hmm. It was offline for about 12 hours, came on Sunday. I'm not giving homework this weekend. Yo, listen, y'all, in honor of the new Fortnite season, there's no homework this weekend. And the kids will be like, what? You even know about things? I don't play it, but I know about it. Same things when certain artists drop an album. I know that my kids are staying up all night listening to those songs, learning those songs, and like ingesting that. I'm just not giving homework, or I'm going to give homework that is like, yo, new Uzi album came out. And I remember this happened. It was 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, friggin' nightmare, because then no one wanted to do work. So instead it was like, let me quickly come up with on Monday a quick, not that I listen to Lil Uzi, right? It's not my jam, but I can create a quick lesson starter in the beginning of Monday to say, look, I know this has everyone's attention, so I'm going there. I'm not doing it to be cool. I'm doing it to be relevant and to take this thing I know you've been consuming all weekend nonstop. And now I want to know what's a verse, what's a bar, what's a beat, what's something you can take away from that. And I want to know about it. And so some of that stuff too.
All right.
You don't have to be about it to be about it, right? Be a student of your students.
There you go. All right. How should you, Naseem is asking, how should you practice and carry yourself as a tenured teacher versus untenured teacher?
I think it's the same way, man. I think that, and when I say that, it is, you should always be learning. You should always be looking to better your craft, because teaching is a craft. Is not something that is a once and done. Like I got out of college, I know how to teach and then I do it. It's something that you should always be growing and learning and changing. One of my favorite scenes, I talk about this all the time, it's worth mentioning again, is in the movie The Breakfast Club, where the janitor and the assistant principal are talking. The assistant principal says, it's the kids, they turned on me, man. They turned on me.
I love
and And it's just, they're not the same that they used to be. And the janitor looks at him and says, the kids didn't change. You changed. Like, we got older and you got curmudgeon and you got crusty and you stopped growing and learning and developing. And so kids are always just kids. Now, look, generations have differences, but not, it's not that wild. It's like kids are unpredictable. They don't think before they act. Like, there's certain things. And I know there's some folks out there that are going like, no, kids are like more inappropriate today and things of that nature. There is some of that, but by and large, kids are kids. And so if we remember that, we need to always be learning and growing and changing and becoming better. Now, if there's a difference, I'd say that what tenured teachers, what teachers that are older, have been in the game for a while, what they need to be doing is looking out for younger teachers, is showing up as mentors. Whether you were given a stipend for it or not, it's going to make your school stronger, and you're going to develop the next generation of educators to be stronger and better than maybe you were. So it's thinking like, what mentor did I need? I remember first year I ever taught, I got assigned a mentor that came into my room one time. That was it. So I had to go and look for my own stuff. It was like, I had to go look and sit in. I went, who's a great teacher? Oh, McDougall is. I'm going to go sit in McDougall's class every day when I have a prep and just be in his presence. Watch him do his thing, because it's amazing. And so to me, that's a part of it. And then I think it's those older teachers need to really be looking for ways to lead in general. You need to realize that like all people are leaders in some way, shape, or form. Especially teachers are leaders. And leadership to me means one thing, right? This is John Maxwell says this. Leadership is just influence. So how are you wielding your influence in a positive and creative way that's going to impact your school, your students, and your community at large? And those are things we need to be thinking about. Can we do one more?
Okay. It's
starving.
Nassim again. He has 2 in a row. I know. I'm hungry too. This is a tricky one. He's asking, what are financial ways education can make you wealthy?
Oh, I think so. I'm setting up. I have a new thing that I'm working on, which is a podcast for educators. And one of the people that we're connecting with is Dave Ramsey's people. And I know not everyone loves Dave Ramsey, but like, I'm not even interested in having that conversation. It's like, look, what's going to help people out, right? So what's going to help teachers not be like biting their nails and living paycheck to paycheck. And they did a study that showed that like, and I'm going to get this completely wrong, but it'll be close enough that you'll get the gist of it, that of like millionaires and what people are millionaires and how many of those folks were educators working on a regular educator salary. So I think there are some ways in which like you're looking at things like how much money are you putting into your retirement? What is your retirement going for? Is it just sitting in like, so in Philly, are you just like in Peasers? Or are you allocating that money and investing it in different ways? If your school matches your contribution to like your 401k, like you should be maxing that out. You should be maxing out your contribution to your 401k. You think it's going to look like a big hit on your paycheck every week, but it's not. And so anything that anyone's matching anything for, max it out because you're getting more money back for that. And then I think that we are in this really interesting space, and we are a definite testament to this, of that college doesn't prepare teachers enough, and professional development sucks. By and large, professional development is garbage, right? Think about it. Think about all the PDs that you've been to and how they were just like a total waste of your time. Either because it was a one-off, because it was a one-off keynote and you're like, you needed more coaching, you needed more help than was offered. So like, in what ways can you help other people be better? And how can I tell you that? Even though this is my jam, this is my business plan. My business plan is my life's purpose. I have it on my wall in front of me. My life's purpose is to help educators become the change makers they are called to be by creating transformative content, providing transformative and providing transformative coaching. That's my life's mission. How can I possibly tell people to do the same business that I'm doing? Because there's just so many schools out there, right? There's so much opportunity. I can't even take all the opportunity that comes my way. So I think one of the ways teachers can become wealthy is by taking what you already do, and then finding someone that wants to buy that. right? It's finding someone that wants to buy your wisdom, finding someone that wants to take your resource, right? So like, and not even just TPT, because TPT costs you money to get in, and they take a huge chunk of your sales when you purchase it there. So it's build a community and then sell those things on your website 100%. You're getting 100% back on that. I think there's some things like that. Like what is the oil in your house that you already have to sell, and then how are you going to use that to go forward? That's just a little bit of that, but that's something we're talking about at scale. We want to help teachers be self-reliant and not have to wait paycheck to paycheck or have a wealthy spouse or something like that. It would have been a whole lot easier if you were wealthy when we got married. I'm just saying.
I know.
I didn't really think about that.
Well, it's interesting, right? Like maybe that is why less men are in the field of education, because women, it's a predominantly female field education. What it's like 80% women. And they are not head of households usually.
But and can we?
And so
can we
where do we
aggravate
value
someone
women
with
and
this
men
one?
with our yeah.
Yes. Can we aggravate someone right now?
Yeah.
Because do we not pay teachers enough? Because it is primarily a woman's. It's primarily women in the classroom, and we don't value women as much as we value men. So let's keep them down. Oh, that's pissing somebody off somewhere. I hope so.
That's a whole video.
Holy discontent right there. All right, gang. We're so thankful for you. Christmas break is coming. We are planning. We got videos like crazy coming out. So
thanks for being patient. I feel like we've been on the slow with putting out content, but
because we've been working on this house project, and it is like something that
we're
showed up,
done.
Something we had to help someone with, something we're trying to do, something that's going to set us up for this next season too. So there's a lot there to say, and maybe next week I'll have something back about. I feel like I'm in. Looks like it. You know what I am right now? I'm that teacher that doesn't have one thing on their wall. That's what I just became. Except I need like a tattered Troy poster back here. Like
no,
Mr.
this is the minimalistic look.
Is that what it is? I feel like a scuba diver.
Mm-hmm.
But look, if you need anything else, you can reach us right at realrapwithreynolds.com. All of the stuff that you need. You want me to come speak at your school. You're looking for our book. You can go and get everything there, and then follow us on social media, and all kinds of stuff is always coming out on there, whether it's things I'm learning, things I'm doing, things of that nature. And as a matter of fact, on our website, you can get our newsletter as well, which just keeps you updated on how I am this year. It's like, how am I learning and growing and become the best version of myself? That's what I'm focusing on. And that's it. Anything else, wife?
Laura Campion is saying that we should do a virtual ugly sweater party.
Like this. We did a Christmas party one day. Remember that year?
We did.
We should think about this.
All right, geez, that's
Laura, I'm going to keep this in mind, and we'll let you know. Gang, we will see you next week. Oh, we will see you next week at 1:30 p.m. We're going to shift the time because of church. 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll keep blasting that out so people know. But that's it. We're good, wife?
Yep.
Cool. Peace.